Hey, everybody. We are back with another interview, and this is Kris. You've heard a little bit about Kris already because he's Teresa's husband. So, Kris, if you want to introduce yourself and kind of go back over how long you and Teresa have been married and that kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Kris Marler. My wife's Teresa, and we've been married since '07. So it's been a while. And it's been a lot of fun.
I remember it.
Yeah, yeah.
um, okay, so we're just gonna jump right in. Everybody already kind of knows October is our sex drive month, so that's what we're talking about.
Okay.
And so, in your marriage with Teresa, which where do you fall on that spectrum?
So I'm the high drive of our relationship. So
We knew that a little bit, but I still had to ask.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so this is kind of the bigger question is, how do you think your drive compared with Teresa's drive affects the intimacy that happens in your marriage?
Um, well, I think depending on the season. So there's been seasons in our marriage where it's really, really negatively impacted our relationship. But um, I think, in Teresa seeking some guidance and wisdom, she's kind of stepped up her side of things a little bit. And then through seeking the same, I've also learned maybe not to prioritize that as much as normal. So there's kind of at this point, I mean, I still have a higher drive. She
Right.
still has a lower drive, but it's not negatively impacting us because I think there's more understanding from both of us, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. And that's one of the things that we talk about a lot is how do you understand where the other spouse is coming from, and you have to want to understand.
yeah,
So, I mean, if you're just like, whatever, I know that's what she is, I don't really care, this is how I feel, you're not going anywhere.
right, right. It's definitely a compromise and just kind of a change of mindset. I mean, I know that there's times now that I mean, come on, I know there's times now that she's like, I don't really want to do this, but I'm gonna do this. And she does that for me. And I know there's some times where I'm like, I really want to do this, but I just know she's not in the mood. And
Yeah.
so why don't I do something else that could be intimate, that's maybe non-sexual, but that gives her some like pleasure of some
Right.
sort. And um, it just seems like the more we both try to, I guess, serve the other's needs instead of our own, just the easier it's getting. And we're meeting more at a halfway point now versus like her having to mark on calendars or just do different things, or me like constantly harassing her like, hey, what do you want to do tonight you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
I
So,
think there was a long period in our relationship where she dreaded asking me what I wanted to do tonight because the answer is pretty obvious, same thing every night.
she knew she needed to ask but didn't want to know. um
Yeah,
so you said a little bit that you've kind of addressed trying to understand where she's coming from and better understand yourself. So as a man and as a husband, that's not the typical. So as far as like um intimacy type things, husbands oftentimes, at least in experience, are like, I don't want to talk about that, I don't want anybody knowing my business, I don't want to, you know I'll figure it out myself.
yeah.
So since you brought it up, then I really want to ask you, how did you decide to kind of share with somebody what you were going through to be able to talk about it? And then do you feel like that was like more beneficial than kind of you thought it would be originally?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess easiest way to answer that, I know in a lot of ways I'm a typical dude, right? I really am. But then also, um, I tend to do like a moral inventory at night. So I really try to look at myself, and because I do want to improve in a lot of ways and I fall short in a lot of ways. I think it kind of comes back to the faith side
Yeah.
of things, where just trying to be humble. And I know that I'm flawed and I know that I'm erred, and in the word, it tells me to seek guidance and wisdom from people. And so I do that. So I try to read a lot. And I think obviously we've talked with you a lot too, and there's a lot of valuable advice. I read a book that really helped too, that really talked about um, comparing my sex drive to like a bowl, and that I always want to fill my bowl from her, because otherwise, yeah, I mean, in the past, obviously, like being out in public or things like that, if I saw an attractive female, there was more lingering glances and things like that, and I found that just distracted me and took my mind elsewhere from my wife, and that doesn't help. As a high sex drive person, then it's really easy for other thoughts to start creeping into, and infidelity could become a real problem. And so I guess realistically, I full transparency, I almost lost my wife over my sex drive, and it was a real brutal time in my life, because it wasn't just going to be I lost my best friend, I lost my wife, I have children. And I think in the moment, or leading up to that moment anyway, my sex drive kind of ruled me,
Yeah.
and not the other way around. And just that experience really opened my eyes and made me realize that, oh my gosh, like these are the most important people in my life. And this little temporary feeling, because let's get real, like, all guy, I would love to say that, an hour of pleasure, but it's not that long. We all know that, right? And so that little bit of pleasure time, I'm like, holy cow, like I've been so willing to please that just momentary pleasure, which could create me a lifetime of sorrow and destroy like the minds and just everything of the people that I care about the most. And so that was just a big slap in the face. And that's where I really started seeking knowledge, and reading books and talking to people and being really honest. And it was hard because as a guy, I want to be known as a leader, I want to be a strong male figure, I want everybody to think I have my life together and my things together. And to reach out to some people and just be like a blubbering mess that says, hey, I'm a wreck, I've totally like turned my life upside down and I need help. It was truly humbling. So I think once I faced that, and also being able to come to her and her basically tell me and be fully honest about just everything, and her to tell me that she forgave me, that was the hardest experience in my life. So compared to that, asking for help from anybody is pretty easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. That's
Yeah.
big stuff.
Yeah. You're
And
welcome.
on this side, I do have to say it was beautiful to walk through with you guys, and to be able to, one, see your heart and your brokenness, the little bit that I got to talk with you, and to watch Teresa, to kind of be able to walk through these moments and find Jesus in these moments that she really probably didn't want to find him in.
Yeah.
And then just to be open and vulnerable, and then to watch the forgiveness take place, and then to see what has transpired since.
Yeah.
From the outside is a beautiful picture to me of just the redemption story of our lives in Jesus. And
Right.
so although I wish that you would have been spared from all the pain, it was beautiful to watch the transformation that you guys have gone through, and I'm grateful to have been a part of that.
Well, I'm grateful you were part of it too, because I know that in the darkest times, like she'd reach out to you. You comforted her a lot through it, and so I thank you, because without that,
I love you guys.
yeah, I do love you guys too. So
I'm gonna flip the switch here a little bit, because that got just way deeper than I thought, but
okay.
I appreciate it, and it's great, and I love the vulnerability, and I know that there's gonna be people who are like, I feel that, or that's me, or maybe somebody can help me too, or just those things. That's the purpose of doing these interviews, is to let other people go, oh, I'm not alone. And
Yeah.
so thank you for just sharing the way that you did. Okay, so my next question for you, it seems kind of silly after all of that, but really is, if you had the ability to shift something in Teresa's mindset, that had to do with intimacy, what would that thing, what would it be? What would that look like for you?
Wow. I guess just having her, well, that's hard. Like, I mean,
It's hard.
obviously, I would just like her to want to be intimate more often, but then again, I also get it. Like, we have kids, we've got all kinds of stuff going on,
Yeah.
so, but yeah, if I could change anything, it would just be the desire, increased desire,
Okay.
or
That
increased
is,
desire of frequency. Let's say that. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. I get that. That makes sense. It is hard. You brought up being a mom and all those things, and it is hard. And I talk about that with the ladies. Like, how do we transition from mom mode to all of a sudden now I got to be this hot, sexy wife who wants my husband, and I'm a hot mess, and I've been yelling, and I've been stressed,
Yeah.
and all these things. And how do we switch from one to the other? And so
And
I love that that's what you said.
actually, you know what? Going back, if I could change my answer, it would
Yeah.
be her self-confidence, because that's her thing. Like, oh no, not during the day. You can actually see me. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I like seeing you. Like, that really does it for me. I'm pretty visual, so
You know what? This next question is going to be asking about yourself. And Teresa's answer for herself was to have more self-confidence.
oh wow, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So, um, so then the other part of that then is yourself. If you could change something of your own mindset, that you had a little more control over, what would that be?
um, that's a good question. So my own mindset would just be not getting so caught up on sex being the like the avenue to be intimate, because I know there's other ways that we can be intimate.
Yeah.
And so if I could change anything in myself, it would probably be just to maybe have more desire for those type of intimate situations and a little bit less desire from the sexual side of things.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
oftentimes those things are what help lead to the other. So that could be beneficial either way.
yeah.
Um, okay, well, I'm going to let you go, but thank you so much for doing this with me and for being open and um, mostly sharing with, these women, just the husband side. And we have a lot of relationships who don't communicate as well as you and Teresa communicate. And so it'll just be really beneficial for them to be able to hear, your side. So I appreciate
Well,
it. Thank you.
thank you.
And we will talk to you again soon.
All right, sounds good.